Hey there, this is Perch, and one of the question I got the original Christopher Reeve Superman movies. What do I think? Were they good? Were they good for comics? Did they help sales? Were they bad? What do I think of those movies? So let me break that question down to a few bits. So first of all, as a personal fan, as somebody who watching movies, fan of comics, I'm very fond of the Christopher Reeves movies. I mean, I think if you grew up during that time, how could you not be? I mean, there was a fun, campy, certainly style to Christopher Reeves and Clark Kent and kind of everything he did there, but they were fun. Some people have looked at those movies very harshly, and I'm convinced these are people who did not grow up during that time, who don't appreciate the more lighthearted view of Superman and everything he did. But I mean, Christopher Reeves, Gene Hackman, Marco Kidder. I mean, just some some really great moments came out of all that, and so I'm very fond of it. Have always been very fond of it. Were some of them a mess? The Donner kind of situation with Superman 2 and the editing that was done. And I mean, there's a lot of stories around various things that went on there, but those were fun movies. I enjoyed them as a fan. I'm a fan. I think good for them. I think in many ways, I think the Christopher Reeve Superman films age better for me than the original Batman run, the Michael Keaton and then Val Kilmer Batman. I think I like Tim Burton. I like him before he started churning out Disney films, but and by the way, just as an aside, Tim Burton did not direct Nightmare Before Christmas. So just that's a big myth. People misunderstand. That was not his movie. Sorry, just want to insert that. Producing is different from directing. Those are different things. Anyway, um, the Christopher Reeve movies, I think, in terms of comics, yeah, I mean, they helped. I think they gave some recognition to comics. I think that the Christopher Reeve Superman movies and the comics that were coming out of the time were, they were reasonably aligned. They were there were differences. Definitely the character and the way it was portrayed in the movies was different from the comic, but they were close. They were closer than some of what we see today. I think the Black Panther in space storyline to the Black Panther movie, very different things going on there. So the comics at the time were fine, and there was a beneficial effect, I think, to those movies and sales, and it helped. It helped bring a spotlight to comics in general. So that was good. Um, in terms of kind of what they meant for other comic movies, it's probably the biggest negative I think I could put, because the jokey, not jokey, but the more camp Superman with Christopher Reeves worked for Superman, and then when applied to things like the Fantastic Four or Captain America or other movies at the time, it didn't work. That was not a that was not a successful crossover of how that would function. So I think that the impact of Superman on other comic properties was probably, didn't do some of those movies any favors when they tried to replicate the Christopher Reeves films and that success. In terms of the movies, what I enjoyed most, I mean, so I have a really fond part in my heart for Superman 3. And I realize that's the most crazy one of the group. But I defy anyone to put on that movie and not have a good time, as long as you're willing to just lighten up and enjoy it for what it was. So you have Richard Pryor there, writing, with who was a computer hacker. I mean, just if you go down like the summary of that movie, it is insane, and insane in a hilariously wonderful way. So you have Richard Pryor. He's a computer genius. He's stealing pennies from his boss, who finds out, decides not to fire him, and takes him up to his ski lodge on the top of a building to give him his plan of manufacturing fake kryptonite using computers that does not completely replicate kryptonite, because Richard Pryor gets super drunk and inserts tobacco into the mix, which turns Superman into a jerk, like red kryptonite form. and then Superman has to fight a living computer AI that's threatening to take over the world. That's a crazy plot. But, God bless it. I love that. I just love that insanely crazy. That was a fun movie. And I know, when old Christopher Nolan's doing some really serious and well done Batman movies, and we're getting, we got the Infinity War and Thanos is killing people, and we got the epic sacrifice of Tony Stark and other things going on. Um, but you've got Richard Pryor using tobacco, to make Superman a jerk, and he's a jerk in the most hilariously jerked ways. He's like got stubble, and he's flicking peanuts to glass, and he's making the Leaning Tower of Pisa not leaning. I mean, I I would buy. I mean, if you could do a storyline of that comic, I would buy it. I mean, just come on. I mean, that was people having fun. I got to imagine the writers' room and the script reads and other things were just awesome. Of that whole storyline had to have been hilarious fun. And there's a woman who's a kind of bimbo character with the villain, but she's actually like super Mensa genius, but she doesn't want to reveal it. So she's like reading like crap Cosmo, just like the most crappiest magazines, and then secretly hiding it behind like Nietzsche. It's just that movie is bananas, and I think if you haven't seen that movie, please, you've got to watch that movie. And if you hate it, let me know in the comments. I'm off base here. That's crazy, but that movie today is one of my favorite movies of all time of Superman movies. I mean, just because it's so much fun. You need a little bit of fun in the mix of all this super serious. Captain Marvel is so strong superhero, and here's super cool Aquaman, and I mean, those are all fine films. They're doing their own thing, and they're fine, and some of them are more enjoyable than others, and everything. But you need one movie, at least one movie a decade, where the villain is trying to create hybrid kryptonite with computers and cigarettes, and Superman becomes a jerk and blows out the torch of the Olympic run at the last second, just to be a jerk. Superman in that movie was Twitter. That was the future of Twitter. We were seeing it right there in that movie. He's the OG troll, all the way. So leave me some comments. What do you think? Am I crazy? I probably am, but let me know, and subscribe, notify, tell friends. You know the drill. Do I have to say this every time? Can I just maybe put up a screen? That might be smarter. Thanks for listening.